Yo, yo, yo! Hello everyone!
Hello.
So that's the first video I'm at for Massa. So really happy to have all the team there. That's quite new for us, so I hope everyone is going to be kind today. Well, maybe to start, how is everyone today?
Good.
I'm amazing.
Yeah, good, thank you. Very
I had a
exciting.
nice beer garden yesterday.
So that's good. And yeah, it's a Sunday, so
How are
let's
you
see.
doing?
Let's see. Well, I'm always good. A bit stressful to organize everything, but no, that's good. We're at a good place right now, so loving it. I think maybe we can start, very, very slow for this first AMA, because we did already an AMA by text at the end of the last episode, and I think people want to know more about the team. So maybe on video also it will be easier to relate, so know that they have your face. So I will let you start, maybe Sébastien, to tell us more about yourself, and then of course Damir and Adrien. So I'll let you go for it. Tell us who you are.
And thank you for organizing. So yes, I'm Sébastien Forestier. I'm the CEO of the company. The company is called Massa Labs. Previously, I did computer science. I did a PhD. It was in Bordeaux at INRIA. The goal was to build robots that learn to speak, to move like baby humans. And that was like it. But on the weekends and on the evenings, I started to study blockchains and see how we could do better with the scaling. And at some point, we started the Massa project with Damir and Adrien. So I'll let you introduce yourself, Damir and Adrien.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Damir. I also have a background in computer science. I started by studying mathematics. Then I did a PhD in using physics to accelerate machine learning. And then I did some machine learning in a company at Treaser. It's a bank as a service. And I worked there for about 3 years. And during these 3 years, I also worked in the evenings and weekends on the science behind Massa. And about a couple months ago, I quit completely Treaser, and now I'm full-time CTO of Massa.
Hello everyone, yeah, I'm Adrien Laversanne-Finot. So I have also a scientific background. I did a PhD in quantum physics, related to quantum cryptography, and then I moved to machine learning. And it was during my postdoc that I met Sébastien, and he introduced me to the world of blockchain and all the scientific part of blockchain. And so that's when we started working on this new project. It was a couple of years ago, I think 4 years ago, and now I'm working at Massa full time it's been a couple of years, and mostly on the scientific part of the protocol, but also helping in many areas. Very nice to have you all for this AMA. Thanks, Vincent.
Well, very happy. So yeah, so basically, I mean, for people who don't know, we don't know about Massa. So the project started already a while ago, and actually, the name of the technology itself, it was BlockClick, right?
Right. Like BlockClick is the name of the technology, like blockchains for Bitcoin. BlockClick is a technology for Massa.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you've been already working together like something like 3 years already on the project.
Since 2018, I think. Yeah.
And how did you decide that the technology was mature enough to move forward and incorporate a company and launch a project itself? So because at the beginning it was mostly a scientific project, right?
Yeah, initially it was mostly science. It was aimed at being a scientific research project. But after 3 years of working on it, we polished it so much that we realized that it could be just launched as a protocol. And from there on, we decided that it could be a waste to not actually launch it. And that's when we decided to start the company.
And also, so when you launched it, also, as I recall, so you managed to get also some support from the BPI, so from the French Public Investment Bank. So how did it work? I mean, did they come to you? Did you go to them? Also, maybe you can tell us more about some awards that the team received recently.
Yeah, so we've seen that the BPI, which is a Banque pour l'Investissement, so French public investment bank, they are investing in many different areas, and we've seen that there are companies doing blockchains that got grants. So at some point we got in contact with them. We discussed, and it was beginning of 2020. We sent our application. We got a first grant around 100K. So that was kind of our first money. So we could be able to hire a few developers. So we were really happy to have these two bootstrappers. And then a bit later, we got an award for the competition, which is called iLab, which I think is one of the most famous competition for innovative startups in France. There are about 60 or 70 winners each year. So we're really happy about this. We got so first it's some funding like 250K, but it's also recognition from the French.
Yeah, I mean, it's blockchain and crypto is something which is becoming quite big actually in France. I mean, even recently the president, after Sorare, raised their like mega seed fund, something like 680 million, right? So it started. He made a message also about it, and yeah. So I mean, it's quite impressive. So I really like it. Also, maybe so there is a question about like a lot of people wanted to know. Like how can they help the team? It's something which is like that came a lot like in the Google form, so I sent to the community. But even before saying like of course, so Massa is hiring and so on. So maybe before going into more details here, maybe can you tell us more also like what is currently the team? So how many people are they? What are the different positions already filled? What are the needs on this part? So, okay, let's go, guys.
So we are almost 10 right now. We are based in Paris. By the way, if you come by Paris, you can come see us. With pleasure. So almost 10. We have 3 other developers. And 2 people more on the marketing community. You have Vincent right here. Maybe also, Vincent, you can tell us a bit about what you did before. And yes, we are hiring more developers and other people on different aspects for the company. So if, by the way, you know developers in Rust, in smart contracts, in different aspects, you can contact us. It would be helpful.
So yeah. So definitely. So basically, so the team is growing quite fast actually. Well, yeah, because I didn't introduce myself. So me, I'm helping the team with everything which is related since recently with communication, marketing, like communities. So some people already know me because I've been involved also in crypto and in blockchain in other communities in the past. So yeah, you know me as Kiesha, but my name is Vincent actually. Well, Kiesha has a Russian history behind it, that's why. So also it's a little parrot. So some people know about it. And yeah, so really like I'm helping the guys with that, and actually that's a question that came back a lot related to that. Will there be an ambassador program? And actually I'm the point of contact for all those related questions, for ambassadorship, for moderators. So everyone who wants also to launch like a community, even non-official one, so just be in touch with me, I would be very happy. So maybe you know it already. So the main chat is in English. The team is mainly French. You can see it by your accents, actually, that we're mainly from France. But yeah, we have also already a Turkish and Russian-speaking communities. We have like several like native chats also in the Discord. So like very also active French community. So we are super happy about it. And for the ambassador program itself, so more details. So as we know, we've checked several like successful ambassador programs that existed in the past. Myself, when I was younger in DeFi, I was also part of some of the programs such as Secret Network or things like that. So that's something I know about. We are building it currently. So maybe what I can say is like we want to try for now to have a more organic growth. We've seen already so many people started to do like tutorials, video tutorials, articles as well regarding the testnet. So we're like just super happy about it. The really like detailed ambassadorship program will of course like take into account like everyone who's helped in the past, and it will be more designed to be ready by the end of the year. Why by the end of the year? Because we want to be already closer to have the smart contract engine ready. So that will help us also, you know, like to have more things to showcase instead of just having a growth which is not organic. So that's what I can say. Maybe if you want to add something about that, guys.
Yeah, I mean, also if you like already running a node is helping us a lot. If you can run a node, if you can report bugs that you find, if you can also pinpoint features that you would like to see in the network, things that you don't like, things that you like, this is helping us a lot. I will speak a bit more about it, but we'll be doing stress tests to showcase the performance of our network and also to see if there are bugs somewhere. And so this is helping us a lot, and this is already helping, and this is why we have our Testnet incentive program, which we will detail also a bit more later, but the idea is to reward everyone that is running a node. So.
Yeah, it's more it's just an ambassador actually. Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's like everyone basically who's helping, so it's going far beyond that. So everyone is somehow an ambassador, and it starts indeed with the nodes. Yeah, and we, I mean, just before closing this question. So yeah, I mean, we see everyone who is helping. We see like everyone who is helping other people to run their nodes, to find like the issues and so on. So of course we keep an eye on all that, and the goal is like, of course, everything depends of how the like project is going to be launched and many things. But of course, like the goal is like to reward and support as many people as possible as we have been supported by the community. And actually, based on that, we have a question. I think it's for Sébastien. So that's also like maybe one of the questions that came back the most.
Right. So about fundraising, I'm afraid I won't be able to tell you much information, but so yeah, in France, there are regulations about token sales. So if somebody wants to do an ICO, it's good to get a visa from the AMF, Autorité des marchés financiers. And to get this visa, you have to follow many constraints. And some of them is to not talk publicly before getting the visa, for instance, but others also. So what I can say is that we will soon announce interesting news about this, that we have a pretty good momentum right now, that we're able to hire a larger team, and yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, I don't know what I can say also. But...
So yeah, I mean, maybe One of the main points here is indeed says that there are like also regulatory constraints in France, so that's why we cannot speak too much about those points. So we are aware of that. But of course, the information are going to be disclosed step by step as we move forward. And also with our partners, I mean, there will be a lot more information coming. And also there will be a new website. So there will be also way more information on the new website. So you will be able to dig in. I think here it's a question which is more for Adrien and Damir. So tell us where we are at.
Maybe Adrien, we can start with the theoretical part.
Yeah. Okay. So on the theoretical part, I mean, we had a paper that showcased like the performances of the Massa network with simulation that were done on a simple Python simulation. It included all the components of the block-leak architecture, but not the peer-to-peer layer. That's why we are building a testnet and a mainnet actually. But we have mathematical proof that the network is secure, that like the probability to have forks is extremely low. It's of the order of 10 minus 10 on 100 years. So we are updating currently this paper to add more content to it and to detail more the proof. We'll be happy to introduce it more, like to help people understand it. We'll make a series of blog posts on it, I think. So we are going to disclose more information about it, but feel free to read it and to ask any question on it on Discord. I let Damir introduce the technical.
So what's interesting is that we have reached an important milestone here. Everything that's in the paper, so the protocol itself, the way nodes communicate, the way they achieve consensus, the selection mechanisms, all of that has been implemented and has been shown to work in Testnet 2.0. So that's already an extremely interesting milestone. Now we want to go beyond the paper. So now we are going to start working on things like improving the API. So the API is the way a user can interact with their own node. And this is going to open many applications. For example, if you guys want to write your own clients, if you want to write your own explorers, you'll have a fully documented JSON RPC API very soon. So that's going to be deployed during phase 3 here. So that's been a lot of work, but that's not the only thing. Afterwards, in the next couple of months, we are going to focus on implementing a smart contract engine. Sorry. Now, this engine is extremely special. First of all, for you not to be scared, we will make it retro-compatible. So we'll make sure that there will be EVM compatibility. So we'll be able to port existing smart contracts to the Massa system. Now, the problem is that the Massa system is extremely parallel. It is extremely concurrent. And the EVM is really not compatible with concurrency. That's also one problem ETH2 had at some point. That's also one of the reasons why they gave up on sharding. But the idea here is that EVMs cannot communicate between threads. So we will have probably one EVM per thread that is going to act on addresses from that thread. And EVMs from different threads will not be able to communicate for now until we figure something out. However, what we want to do is to add something above that, to add a Massa-specific smart contracts engine that is going to run on a virtual machine using WebAssembly. So for those who don't know what it is, WebAssembly is a standard specified quite recently, actually, initially by Mozilla and then by the whole industry. And the goal is that, contrary to EVM, where you need to know Solidity, which is a special programming language, to be able to deploy smart contracts, on WebAssembly, you can write in your favorite language. You can use Python, C, C++, Go, whatever you want. And most of these languages will naturally be able to run on our engine. Now, this smart contract engine will also have some special features that have not been seen before. Because as I told you, the reason why we cannot deploy inter-thread EVMs is because of concurrency. And that's also true for the Massa smart contract engine, but we decided to go further and to fully embrace asynchronicity. We want to make Massa smart contract development look and feel like you're developing on the cloud. For example, think AWS Lambda. So you would define functions in your favorite language, deploy them for cheap on the network, because deploying on Ethereum would cost you thousands of euros. Here, deployment would be cheap. And once you've deployed the function, this function will be able to be triggered by incoming events. And these events can be messages from other smart contracts, can be manual calls from people or bots, and can also be triggered by some watching events. For example, by looking at, by allowing, let's say, smart contracts to define some watches, for example, to observe some other smart contracts and be triggered automatically by changes on these other smart contracts. Smart contracts will also be able to be woken up by themselves later, so that's timers. And all the features people are used to in the cloud will be available here. So the equivalent of a database, the equivalent of asynchronous communication and triggering events, all of that. We really wanted to make it look and feel very familiar to people who are used to developing for the cloud. Now, that's not without challenges, of course. The goal is to be able to implement a first proof of concept version in a couple months. We expect bugs, we expect problems. It's the first time anybody does these kind of things. Because as you may imagine, in other systems, for example, in Ethereum, in order for a smart contract to do anything, people need to call it manually, either through transactions or through centralized bots. And if these centralized bots don't work or crash or whatever, the smart contract will not execute. In Massa, we want smart contracts to be able to independently run within the blockchain, basically to live on the blockchain. You can imagine CryptoKitties or whatever literally living on the blockchain, reproducing on the blockchain without human intervention. That's one of the applications, but we expect much better ones. Now, the challenge here would be to build with the feedback of the community. So as always, we are going to deploy early a prototype that's going to be extremely minimal, and then we're going to build with the community. So what we want there is that people participate and try to deploy programs, try to break the system, try to have fun, and give us feedback so that we can build, correct, improve, so that we can reach something extremely stable and powerful by Q2 2022. So that kind of summarizes the next steps. Yeah, also, before I continue, one last thing. As a background, we also always working on improving stability and performance of the system. So if you have complaints about performance, about bugs or whatever, feel free to file them. Now, that's one thing. And of course, eventually the code must be audited before we release it. And all of that is planned. And in terms of funding, we should be fine.
So maybe to summarize, so first thing on the tech, so that for now everything is on track. So there is a vision. So of course everything. So just to summarize, everything which is going to be built, which has been built already using Solidity and so on, which should be retro-compatible on Massa. But Massa technology is going to be to go like way beyond that, allowing also like way more developers to build on it using their favorite languages. So that's something also which is like totally interesting for the ecosystem, I believe, and which is going to change a lot of things. And maybe Sébastien, on the next steps, also you have some words.
You mean next technical steps?
Yeah, just next steps also, which are coming on the roadmap.
So there's these two specificities of Massa. So Damir talked about autonomous smart contracts. it's coming in a beta version in a couple months. There's also one thing that we would like to do is for the smart contracts to be able to host websites, so in a kind of decentralized web. So I'm thinking it's brainstorming for now, but I'm thinking you reserve your domain name, a bit like in the Ethereum name system, but here in the Massa name system, you would when you go to your domain name, you get to a smart contract that feeds your browser with the website and that you can interact with. And this way, you would, for instance, play a game, play a CryptoKitty or whatever, directly on the blockchain without going through a centralized website. Or you could have a Uniswap without uniswap.org. There are many things that can be done on this idea. Then, so this is also for the next month. There's also other tracks like performance and security. You've seen that maybe every month I'm doing a stress test of the network. The goal is to reach little by little the 10,000 transactions that we claimed. And for this, we have to improve the speed and how the node functions. And on the other side, we have security. So we have to have people that try to break Massa. By the way, we will give bug bounties and bounties for attackers that manage to break the network. That's another track for the next 6 months. And then there's the mainnet. So we will do one testnet version each month, which we call episodes. So there was episode 0 in July. It was really short. Then episode 1 in August, episode 2 in September that we just closed. And next month is going to be episode 3. And we will keep going like this until mainnet. But we cannot tell you exactly how many episodes there will be. Our goal is to have the mainnet ready in second quarter next year. And yeah, between testnet 2 and 3, maybe I can let Damir tell more about.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so I think maybe also. Well, maybe also you can give also like Adrien and Damir more information about like how the episodes are run, also from your perspective, and then yeah, indeed, maybe let's move for the next question, which is about like the differences between like episode 2 and episode 3. But before I move there, maybe if you have some comments also, maybe.
The goal of the testnet, it's important to remind it, is that we could test the system at a low scale on a few computers, but the testnet is a very unique opportunity to be able to test what we wrote on a very large scale, and also have people from the community comment on it and give us feedback, detect some very rare bugs that we would never see. And to us, that's the most important part of the testnet.
Something that I want to add also, a lot of people were asking, it's not too late to participate. As I said before, we'll try to reward as many people as possible with real coins when the mainnet launches. So feel free to participate to start or not when episode 3 begins. And also, a lot of people were asking about the duration of the testnet. We'll keep the testnet running and episode every month until the mainnet is deployed. So the deployment is it's planned for Q2 2022. We'll have more specific deadlines later, but that's more or less the state of the plan for now.
And yes, you can join whenever you want inside an episode. You can join any episode you want. The longer you're with us, the better. And we will try to reward everybody who is participating. But I cannot tell you exactly how much Massa we can give per person. It will depend on, for instance, how many people there are. But for each person, the longer you and the more stable your node is, the better. And also about decentralization, what's a bit unique, I think, with the Massa mainnet is that when we will launch, the mainnet will be decentralized from the Genesis blocks. I mean, the people that were here in Testnet and that will be rewarded real Massa coins, they in fact also will be rewarded with roles. So roles are a bunch of Massa that you used in the proof of stake as a lottery to be selected to produce blocks. And if you staked for enough time in the testnet episodes, then you will have roles from the beginning, and you will create blocks from the beginning, from launch of the network.
So the goal is really to measure the quality of the nodes during the testnet, and then to select as many good nodes as possible to become initial mainnet stakers.
Nice. I think everyone was looking for such answers for. I mean, that's questions that are coming back often and often. So that's quite interesting. And also soon. I mean, it's taking a lot of the previous question into account, but as soon also as when there is a first version of the smart contract engine, also the testnet is going to prove very interesting to see how the apps are running on the Massa network. And well, everyone who is involved in this testnet are going to be able to get sneak peeks. So I mean, for ambassadors, for node runners, and so on, I think that's something which is quite interesting. We had questions also about the difference between, I mean, what is going to change between episode 2 and 3. I don't know who wants to take the lead. So who wants to explain for everyone in a more simple way, maybe what are in the logs?
Okay, so maybe just to summarize quickly. First of all, the whole idea of episodes is very technical. The idea is that by building new things, we are going to break the system. We are going to make it not retro-compatible at some points. And to avoid having to break the system all the time and having people to reinstall things at uneven intervals, we prefer to have a schedule. That's why we have these episodes. So at every episode, we will try, at every beginning of every episode, we're going to try to pack as many breaking changes as we can, because we know that people are going to anyway stop and install the new nodes. So that's the reason behind the episode system. Now, in episode 2, we mostly introduced like all the features remaining from the paper, so endorsements, all of that. And this ensured that the protocol was complete in terms of theory, like it was fully working as described in the paper. Now, the thing is that we did not have a few things yet. First of all, we did not have a good and well-documented API. And we saw it in the community. Some people started trying to build some things with the API. I was asked a few times for the documentation for the API. And unfortunately, there was an API, but it was not very good. So that's one of the things we're going to address in episode 3. We are working hard on deploying a new kind of API that will allow multiple things. For example, people will be able to reuse remote nodes. So not only their own nodes, but also send transactions with remote nodes. That's one thing. Also check the status of the network through remote nodes. Second of all, they'll be able to administer their own node. And all of that will be done through a very standard protocol called JSON RPC. So that's one thing. Of course, it's going to be built with a lot of documentation. We're going to detail every single endpoint, how it works, what it does. because we want people to start building things around Massa. For example, clients, explorers, whatever they want. So that's one thing. And the second big thing that is coming in this new release is massive performance improvements. Because the thing is that for now, we have not focused on performance yet. And some stress tests have shown that there was room for improvement. We have done some profiling. We found the areas in the code that were the slowest or the most critical, and we have heavily optimized them. So now in episode 3, you should see performance improvements. And another new thing that's going to happen in episode 3 is, in order to make the conditions in the network more realistic and to avoid having people run nodes on Raspberry Pis and stuff like that, we are going to add some like a background amount of transactions. So we're going to create little bots that are going to send 50 transactions per second through the network, approximately, all the time, through the whole episode. The goal here is to make sure that everything is stable under load. And this load is going to increase over the next episodes. And we hope to reach something around a few thousand transactions per second in a couple episodes.
Yeah, I think that was actually one of the questions because as we saw, Evan also so one of the questions was like, okay, low tech requirements isn't it going to break the network? So that was somehow one of the questions. And also a lot of people were not very aware also of sometimes the tech requirements. So at the end of each episode, for everyone to know, we are going to announce it next time, but we are running the stress test, basically increasing the number of transactions which are run on the network. So if you don't have the good tech requirements, obviously your node is stopped to be functioning. That's one of the things. And as the guys said, now there is going to be from this episode an amount of transactions per second to be sure that to be sure that the tech requirements are also like more respected. That's something to have more quality for the nodes. Maybe Sébastien, if you want to have a word.
Yeah, by the way, so I told you we reached 100 transactions per second in the August episode. Now, a few days ago, just before it breaks, I did again some stress tests, and we reached 200 transactions per second, which was still quite stable. So if I put too many transactions per second, so I tried 500, 600, about half of the nodes could handle the load, but I lost the other half of the nodes. So we were 2,500 nodes at the beginning, and when with 50 transactions per second, it was still okay. But with 200, I lost maybe 1,000 nodes, and with 600, I lost 1,500 nodes. So I could say we reached 200 transactions per second, and it was quite stable. But for the next episodes, there will be speed improvements, so we can reach more with the same hardware. But also, if you have only one virtual CPU, it will not be stable, and that's what's happening when you lose your roles. Maybe Damir, you can explain this again.
Yeah, okay. I have just two questions on that. So that's just to wrap them together. So indeed, we had a lot of questions also, like not only in the forum, but also in the Discord. It was coming back often and often. So even if there is a FAQ, it was still coming back. So why do people lose roles? And I had also another question on that. It's somehow related, but not really related. But still, it's about the nodes. Someone on the Discord wanted to know. So LA scientists wanted to know what determines the quality of a node during the whole testnet experiment. Is it only the uptime, or are there other aspects to consider? So because, for example, some people, they can't be 24/24 running the node, so they want to know, okay, so where can they grab, also this quality part for the node?
So about uptime, yes, it's mostly uptime that counts when we measure the quality of a node and when we want to give it a score at every episode. I mean that if your node is working well, has good connection, has enough CPU, and you let it run all the episode, then you will get large rewards, and your node will be producing all the blocks when it is selected for, and all the endorsements. And if, for instance, for one day your node is down, you will miss the creation of a block if you are selected to produce this block. And in our design, if you miss the production of blocks, we will sort of deactivate you, because we don't want that if many people put their node down, then there will be many miss in the block. There will be holes in the data structure, and the throughput will be lower. So we deactivate people, and they will have to buy back the roles when they figure out the problem. So don't buy back the roles if you don't really understand why, or if it's happening every day. Please contact us, and we will figure out the problem, if it's a CPU problem, if it's a connection. But it's not the good way to just every day buy back your roles to get active again. Yes.
So yeah, and also besides that, so on the rules questions, I mean that's something also that should be stressed and remembered. Sometimes the VPS providers and so on, they have issues regarding that, or they can send communications. So maybe Damir also already today answered one of the questions related to that. I know this week I was in touch with people of the community also related to that, because they had issues with their providers. Maybe you can say a few words on that, Damir?
Also, I think
Adrien?
I can let Damir answer, but I think it's good also to remind the tech requirements we are aiming for. The tech requirements we are aiming for are 8 cores and about 8 or 16 gigabytes of RAM. It depends on what we can achieve in the end. It may seem a lot to people running nodes on Raspberry Pi, but actually, if you compare to high-performance blockchains such as Solana or Phantom, it's actually quite low, like very, very low compared to Solana. And the reason for that is that in the end, we are doing a lot of transactions, like aiming for 10,000 transactions per second, and you cannot do that if you have only one core. So you have to find a middle ground, and we believe that being able to run a node on an average desktop computer is a good balance between decentralization and performances.
Yes, it's also important to remind that one of the goals of Massa is to be accessible. We want it to be decentralized, and for that, we need it to be accessible. So it needs to have a very low entry barrier in order to run a node. So in terms of hardware, it needs to be something that people can get, for example, a desktop computer or a VPS or whatever. And in terms of coins, eventually it's also going to be extremely cheap to get enough roles to start actually staking meaningfully. And the goal here is to really decentralize the network by giving it back to the people and stop having a small percentage of the community just control the whole network. Now, back to the question with the VPS providers sending messages. Yes, some VPS providers have policies against mining, which is understandable because it uses a heavy amount of resources. In our case, first of all, it's not exactly mining in the sense that we're not using proof of work. So in terms of resources, it shouldn't be as bad. Second of all, in terms of communication here, I think if you tell them that you're running a Massa node and they check and they see it's a cryptocurrency, they're going to assume that you're mining. So we may have to try to contact ourselves some of the providers, see what, if there's some arrangement we can get with them, what can we do there? Is it possible to tell them, okay, it's more of a prototype that people are testing, it's a peer-to-peer network, it's not using heavy resources. I don't know, of course, to depend on the provider, we still haven't figured out a unique way of communicating about that.
Actually, here, just for me to jump in, I think also it's just not for you, not for the team, but for all the community. If you have issues with your providers and you have like a communication with them related to that, don't hesitate to tell us, to give us more information, or even if you want the guys to jump in to try to understand what would be an agreement with them, and also what they need to know about the technologies that we're running. Don't hesitate, because it might make things easier, and of course we are willing to help on that, because the goal is to be running in a very diverse environment, so with as many providers as possible, as many home computers as possible, as many VPS as possible. So if they need to hear from the team to understand that we are not mining, and they don't want to hear from you, don't hesitate to put us in touch as well.
Also, some providers don't like peer-to-peer connections, and Massa uses about up to 60 peer-to-peer connections when running nominally. So that may be another problem. So feel free to explain to them if they ask that you're not downloading illegal videos. What you're doing there is just running a node that uses peer-to-peer, that establishes about 60 connections, and in some points in time, you might have extra incoming connections, and all of that can be detected by automatic systems on your VPS that usually track spam bots and these kind of things, like DDoS bots. So you might need to explain them that that's not it. That's it.
Also, I think it highlights the importance of people running a node on a diverse setup, so that maybe if one provider shut up all Massa nodes, then the system is still running, because we have a lot of diversity of node setup, hardware, provider, people running on node at home on their personal internet connection. And that's why we introduced the maximum factor also. It's related to this problem, because we want to encourage people running diverse setups.
Yeah, so I told you about the uptime earlier, but there's this new factor that we introduced in episode 2. It's measuring basically how spread the IPs are. So because we don't want everybody to run a node on Amazon, we don't want everybody to run a node on Google Cloud. So we would like that people run at home or in the most diverse set of providers. So we add a score bonus to people that have an IP address which is far from the IP address of the others. So uptime and decentralization of IP addresses. Talking about this, we are not satisfied by the way we computed this score in episode 2. So we are going to give the 20 points bonus to everybody and improve our measurement for episode 3. So starting in episode 3 in a few days, that the 20 bonus points for decentralization will start to count, and will really depend on the distance between your IP and the closest other IPs. And talking about the version 3, Damir, is there a bug in the version 3?
Yeah, so it's a testnet, so there are bugs and there will be bugs. And because we want to release something polished, we don't want to just release something buggy, we are currently working on solving a bug that we have detected in version 3. So the bug looks like it comes from the caching system we have added to increase performance. It looks like some blocks are lost in the propagation process. So that's not an easy bug to correct because it needs to be diagnosed in a peer-to-peer context. So right now we are running the testnet in the background, so you don't see it, but we're trying every day to run it with a couple nodes and to detect where exactly in the process we lose this block. So that I've been working on that all day yesterday, and it's going to be a lot of work, I think, in the next couple of days, but I'm quite confident we're going to solve it. And as soon as it's solved, and as soon as we're confident that version 3 is stable, we are going to release version 3. So that's going to be a couple of days at most, hopefully.
Yeah. So also, I mean, I think we are like close to wrap up and finish the AMA. Also, I wanted just to say that for all the community, it will be like very interesting to see once we have episode 3 and even before the smart contract engine, to not hesitate to try to build explorers or things like that. On Massa, it will be something interesting. It's not to compete only, but to challenge the vision we have on our Explorer and so on. And also for everyone to know, so there will be a new website that should arrive in November with a new UI for the Explorer. So basically, as I told already to everyone, it should be in October. Well, it will be end of October, beginning of November, but still, so it's coming. There will be a more detailed website and a new Explorer, but we are also keen to see like the community to launch their own Explorer. So it will be something quite interesting. Well, also we had another question. So here it's more about the history about Massa. People were curious. Okay, what's behind Massa? Why Massa?
I like this question. So there are multiple origins. One is from the Massa coins that were used about 2,500 years ago in Marseille. So Marseille was founded by a Greek colony, and they were quite independent, and they were minting their own silver coins. They called them Massa. The city was called Massalia at the time. And nowadays we can find those silver coins around the city of Marseille. I have one here just to show you how it looks like. And Damir and I, we met in Marseille, so that's also why we like this origin. And second one maybe is that the goal of our currency and blockchain is to be free, decentralized, and used by as many people as possible. So you can see Massa as mass adoption.
Yeah, I love the mass adoption approach. Actually, it's a very nice one. It's my favorite. And also, sorry to interrupt before we wrap it up. We had another question on Twitter from Vladimir. So with God's Hunter. So he was asking, do you have any idea how many validators there will be on the mainnet? I think we can't know right now, right?
Yeah, it will depend on the participation in the testnet. So the more we have good and stable testnet stakers, the more there will be initial mainnet stakers on the mainnet. Now, there's also a theoretical limit. That's important to mention. In our theoretical paper, we have studied up to about 8,000 nodes on the network in the theory. Above that, we have not proven anything about the stability of the network. So what we're going to do is, of course, study the system in a context where there are more nodes. That's one thing. And second of all, we might have to, at some point, limit the number of nodes if necessary, if it reaches the theoretical limits we have studied. Of course, we are going to try to push these limits upwards as the network progresses.
Nice. I will update. I will update also this answer on Twitter just to be sure you get it. Well, I think before we close it, so I wanted myself to thank you all, guys, for your time Sunday to do the AMF for the community. Also, I wanted to thank the community personally, because they have been always always great, always nice, always supportive, always full of love. We know it's it's very early, and sometimes like we're not always like super active and so on the community, but it's because we are building. It's very early. That the code needs to be released before you have something to show on, right? And also we had more than 100. I think like when I stopped to look at the Google form, we had something like 115, 120 questions. So I guess maybe even 150 now. So thanks a lot for everyone who asked questions and helped to set up the IMA. And well, the floor is yours, guys. Maybe before we close. So if you have something to add.
Oh yeah, I would like to add. Thank you, Vincent, for organizing this. It's amazing. It's our first AMA, so we're kind of discovering this. Now, as you said, there were like 100+ questions. You did a great job of wrapping up the main ideas behind them. Now, of course, we might not have answered some of them. So to everybody who feels like their answer is missing here, feel free to contact us, of course. Ping us, we are available. And yeah, I just want to add that we have an amazing community, and I did not expect such a community so fast. And even though when we look at the actual text in the Discord, many people seem to struggle with installing nodes and things. Actually, to me, that's really the tree hiding the forest, because behind that, there's a silent 2,000+ people that are running nodes without any problem. And that's something I think we should be really proud of. And of course, people are helping each other. People want to build on the system. People want to build the community. And it's extremely beautiful. I really like it. And I really thank you, everybody who participates. And I hope it continues.
And please talk to us. Please come see us in Paris. Yeah, I'm really impressed by the quality of your nodes, the quality of your questions, and don't hesitate. Reach to us.
Yes, thank you, Vincent, for organizing. Very nice as always. And yeah, as Damir said, feel free to ask questions on Discord. We are very happy to answer. Sometimes we are sleeping, so we don't answer yet. But if you wait a couple of hours, normally it's okay.
Yeah, sometimes we're sleeping, indeed. But no, also we see more and more people answering from the community when we are sleeping. So also, thank you very much, guys. Also, as said, the team, so you are very welcome to meet us in Paris. Also, we'll try to come to some community meetings, because we know we have a huge following, for example, from the Russian-speaking community. We have also the Turkish-speaking community. There is a French community. So we'll be happy to try to organize to meet as many people as possible. And well, in the meantime, we say you goodbye. Good evening. Have a good Sunday. We are going to upload also the video on YouTube. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.